The biggest mistake people do in healing is that they try to address and heal everything at the same time, and then they get overwhelmed and then they quit. But healing happens in 3 different stages. First, you begin with your inner child. That child represents your earliest experiences and the first 7 years of your life. It's the part of you that learned what love, safety, and worth looks like. So during that stage, you're challenging your old beliefs, you're feeling your emotions instead of avoiding them, and you're facing your inner critic. Then you meet your inner teen. That's the part of you that built coping mechanisms, that challenged rules and people, and started dealing with intimacy and romantic relationships. So if meeting your inner child is about discovering your wounds, then meeting your inner teen is about unlearning your survival strategies and letting go of the ways you used to protect yourself, such as people-pleasing, perfectionism, or avoidance. Once you've discovered your wounds and you start working on your survival strategies, that's when your current self, the adult self, starts to emerge. And that part of you acts based off of their self-worth and starts focusing on who they want to become. At that point, you'll even start to notice that you don't think about the past as much as you used to. Of course, these 3 parts overlap, and that's why when you address the 3 of them at the same time, it feels overwhelming. But stick to the chronological order: your inner child, your inner teen, and then your current adult self. Because at the end of the day, your inner teen and your adult self, they are both byproducts of your childhood experiences. And of course, that does not mean that you won't feel peace during the process, or you don't need to set boundaries from the beginning, or you don't discover your wounds later on. But by focusing on each stage to stop overwhelming yourself and giving each stage your full attention, you create space to process it deeply before moving on to the next stage. Remember, your inner child holds the pain, your inner teen holds the protective mechanisms, and your adult self holds the change. Of course, all 3, they need to come together and work. But instead of focusing and addressing all 3, focus on each stage, give it its time, around 1 to 3 years, to process it deeply, while you let the other 2 stages do their work in the background. And only until you feel safe within that version of yourself, such as your inner child, once you feel safe enough, you can move on to the next stage while you let the other 2 stages do their work in the background. Only until then will you finally reach your full potential and grow as a person and heal. Okay?